The issuer always will, arguably, I shouldn't say always, but most of the time will trigger licensure because they're receiving money. They convert it into a stable coin. So that's generally going to be the case. Redeemer as well, right? Those are kind of two endposts because again, they're receiving like the digital asset and then converting it usually into fiat or something else of value. So those two typically trigger licensure. The reserve manager, I would say, it kind of depends on how that's structured. If a lot of the reserve managers are banks, right? So they wouldn't have licensing requirements, but there's a lot of non-banks that do it. And because they're receiving money from people, from one group and then remitting it to another, I think they could hit the MTL licensing requirements in theory. It doesn't always happen, but likely it would. And then you do see a lot of these structures with bank partnerships because the banks are exempt from the laws. What we see a growing amount of is the argument that any funds are done in through like an FBO account, which then is a bank titled account, but in the name of whoever is the fintech or MTL. And because of that, there's exemptions that people rely on. And then the agent of the payee can work, but you have to have it structured right because a lot of people forget that it's not just being in some sort of relationship with the recipient. You also have to have agreements and things that document what you're doing. And that doesn't work in all states, although it works in many, many, many states. So you just have to be careful about, there's some little like things that you could get tripped up on.
I was just going to highlight the one part back to the redeemer part. I mean, that's often, it's in scope just as often as the issuer, maybe sometimes more so.
Yeah.
And it's really because the redemption, that's the moment at which that customer's claim converts back to real dollars. That's the point I think regulators worry most about failing.